With this Monday night matchup that's going to take place between the Raiders and the Chiefs, who do you think is going to come out on top and why?
I think this is going to be the matchup of the weekend. I think, well, obviously, this being a Monday night game, it might be a little bit different, but for the sake of football, it'll be the weekend. I think this is the close game of the weekend for the sheer fact that the Raiders made themselves notable once more. The Raiders woke up, they found a way to dominate, and they won the game that they had last week against Denver. Albeit Denver isn't the greatest offensive team, this is the confidence booster a team like Vegas needs. They have too much talent on the offensive side of that football to struggle as much as they have. Now, there have been miscues, there have been timely turnovers, there have been bad play calling, there's a lack of defense outside of Hobbs and, of course, Chandler Jones and Max Crosby and a couple of other players. But when you look at them from an overall topical perspective, they are so much better than what they have put out thus far. And I think that that one game that they just played is going to be that catalyst piece that's going to say we can definitely compete with the best of them. Now, I still think Kansas City wins because Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes have shown that they are still the team to beat as of as of last week. Now, I know Buffalo is also the same record, but with the injuries to Buffalo, I have to give the edge to Kansas City because they are just firing on all cylinders, albeit they had that blip against the Colts 2 weeks ago. That's neither here nor there because they continued their dominance the very next week with Pat going completely off and embarrassing Tom Brady and the Bucks on Sunday night. Now, I'm going to go on a limb and say that this game is a little bit closer because it is a divisional game and because the Raiders are going to play them a little bit tougher. Josh Jacobs finally woke up and has come back to reality, knowing that he is one of the better downhill runners when healthy. They have arguably the best receiver in the game in Devontae Adams. You can make the argument again that they also have the top tight end in the game in Darren Waller when he's given the proper targets. Probably one of the better slot receivers in Hunter Renfrow, and so on and so on and so forth. McDaniels needs to start and establish the line of scrimmage and run the football. If he runs the football and creates the play action, that opens up so many opportunities for one-on-one matchups with their receivers outside. And if they can get some mismatches with Waller in the middle of the field, I think that they can expose Kansas City's defense as well. But Kansas City's defense has come to play. Their pass rush is good. Their rush defense has been solid. They've been able to create turnovers, and it's just been an all-around team competitive just season for them thus far. I mean, 3-1 without Tyreek Hill, and the just doubtings of what the Chiefs were going to be able to put out there after the Colts loss, and for them to go out there and embarrass one of the best defenses in the league, in the Buccaneers, I think that speaks a lot of volume. But again, with the Raiders always playing them, their divisional rivals tough. I think that this game will surprise a lot of people. I think that this game may be a little bit more high scoring than people are expecting, especially because the Raiders don't exactly have one of the most consistent offenses. I would say that this game goes up somewhere in the realm of 28-35 Kansas City. I think Edwards-Helaire has been playing exceptionally well. I think Juju Smith-Schuster's been playing decent. And, of course, Travis Kelce. This is arguably the battle of the tight ends in the NFL. Like, this is 1A, 1B, this is 1 and 2, depending on how you rank it. I mean, if Darren Waller gets opportunities, he's one of the best. And of course, Travis Kelce gets his looks because he is the best. But I don't know, man. Derek Carr always finds a way to play Patty tough. And I think that this game is going to be competitive at the least. But I'm predicting Kansas City to win this by at least 7 points. So I got Kansas City, like I said, 35-28.
Well, I think this is going to be a lot better than the Thursday night matchup that we had on one of
Oh
our
my
last
God.
primetime games.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that when you look at this matchup between the Chiefs and the Raiders, I think this is definitely probably the marquee matchup of the weekend. And I understand that may look a little bit weird just based off of the fact that the Raiders have a 1-3 record, but I'm with Kevin 100%. The Raiders, just from a talent perspective, what they're capable of, they're better than a 1-3 record. And granted, they've had some really tough games where they just let some of these games slip at the end, but that's better than a 1-3 team right now. They're definitely better than that. But when it comes to this game specifically, Kevin, I'm with you. I'm going with the Chiefs too. The Chiefs really impressed me Sunday night against Tampa last week. I mean, granted, getting a fumble on the kickoff return within the first 5 seconds of the game and then scoring within the first 45 seconds of the game. I mean, that's a really high mark for the Chiefs to just get off to a really fast start and then keep that momentum the entire course of the game. I mean, when you're in a situation where you're putting up 35, 40 points a game, that's a really tough task for the defenses you're going up against, because when it comes to the Raiders specifically, if the Raiders give up anything like Tampa gave up last week, the Raiders could probably give up 45 points to the Chiefs here just because that Chiefs offense is that explosive. And once again, I may sound like a broken record here, but Pat's on a mission right now. The guy is tied for first in the NFL with 11 touchdowns already. He has one of the highest, if not the highest, QBR rating already. And taking that performance that he had against Tampa, I think there's a very good chance that he could be able to expose that Raiders secondary and put up 300 to 350 yards passing and possibly put up 3 touchdowns in the process. I was just blown away by what the Chiefs offense were able to do last week, not only just in scoring touchdowns, but they were so effective in third downs. They were 10 of 12 as far as their efficiency was and how much they were converting on third downs. If they're able to crack 50% going against the Raiders, I think that bodes really well in their favor. Now, on the flip side, when it comes to the Raiders, they finally found a decent working option with Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs had a hell of a performance against the Broncos last week. And really, it was the first time this year where Josh Jacobs actually got a decent amount of carries, and they finally utilized him properly. And when you have that situation working in your favor, it takes a lot of pressure off of Derek Carr to be able to just single-handedly carry that offense to the promised land. And I just think by and large, I think the Raiders were finally able to establish a rhythm offensively because they finally gave the defenses that they were going up against a different look. Because Derek Carr was a lot better protected simply just because the defense had to account for Josh Jacobs. When you have to account for Josh Jacobs, it puts that offense in a situation where they could be able to throw the ball to Devontae Adams 13 times, and he comes down with 9 to 10 catches. Darren Waller was effective. Matt Collins was effective. It just seemed like the Raiders offense finally kind of got it together. And I think that there's a very good chance that the Raiders can keep that momentum going against this game against the Chiefs because I don't think the Chiefs have that really good of a defense. I think when you look back to Tampa last week, they still gave up over 30 points. Now, granted, a lot of those points were probably given up in garbage time, but still, you gave up 30 points. And I think that there's a very good chance that Derek Carr and that Raiders offense could put up 25, potentially 30 points in this game. But I just have to bring it back full circle here. I think that Patrick Mahomes is probably the MVP leader right now, and I think he's playing up to a level that we've seen in the past that's very scary to defend against. And I think when it's all said and done, I think the Chiefs win this one by a touchdown. I'm going to say probably somewhere around 34 to 28, 34-27. Just because I think both offenses are going to be pretty effective in this game. I think this may come down to a situation where who's going to turn the ball over first. And I think at this point, I'm more inclined to believe that Derek Carr is probably going to make that mistake more than Patrick Mahomes. And I think when you tie that factor in, I think that the Chiefs are going to get away with this one and end up moving to 4-1 on the season when it's all said and done.